Welcome to Beyond the Broadsheet, a podcast by the Lincoln County News. We are a community newspaper based in Midcoast, Maine, and we provide the most comprehensive, in-depth coverage available anywhere of the 18 towns and one plantation that make up Lincoln County. My name is Piper Pavelich. I'm a reporter here at the Lincoln County News. I cover Waldoboro, Dresden, Whitefield, and Wiscasset.
And my name is Molly Rains. I'm also a reporter here, and I typically cover Waldoboro, Jefferson, and Somerville. And we also have our producer, Lucas McNally, in the house.
Hello.
Hi,
I just realized that I was muting the wrong microphone. It's going well.
We're not pros here. It's okay. Today, we're going to hear some of the top stories from our January 9th edition, including an exciting development in the north of the county, which Waldoboro Town Manager Julie Keizer will join us to discuss in a little bit. But first, here are some of the other stories from this week. Molly, did you want to start us off?
Sure. Well, we had an interesting development from the press officer of the State Department of Public Safety, Shannon Moss, who told us that a suspect in the Edgecombe murder, which happened a few weeks back, was apprehended on Monday night in San Diego on a sailboat.
Yeah, pretty wild stuff. And we got this information on Tuesday night, I believe, Tuesday afternoon, Tuesday night.
Sorry, because he was arrested on Monday. Yes.
Which was crazy because if you've been listening for a while, you know that that's typically when we're putting everything together to be printed the next day. So we kind of had to all hands on deck that situation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so on December 3rd, the body of William Nate Robinson, who was 34 and from Austinville, Virginia, was found in a trash barrel on the Schmid Preserve in Edgecombe by a hunter.
Yeah. And
Piper, you covered that a little bit, and there hasn't been much word on it since then, which was over a month ago.
I think, I actually can't remember. I think Sherwood was the one that had written about it, but I definitely was by his side looking over his shoulder wondering what the heck was going on over there.
Yeah. So then there was a little bit more of a word on December 12th when Maine State Police detectives searched a residence in Turner. Yeah. And it looks like they found evidence there linking Crott to the murder.
Yeah. But, of course, since it's an ongoing investigation, we don't quite know what that evidence is just yet. Mm-hmm. And it sounds like Crott is going to be extradited to Maine to face a murder charge coming soon. So we'll keep our eyes on that situation and let you guys know what's going on there.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And something that you attended in Edgecombe, another Edgecombe story, is that there is an oyster farmer proposing some new developments there. Do you want to talk about that meeting?
Yeah, if anyone is familiar with the businesses over in Edgecombe, Glidden Point Oyster, the owner, Ryan McPherson, is proposing 2 new barns on the property, a oyster processing barn and a gear maintenance barn. He went to the planning board on January 2nd to have a site plan review for the processing barn. It sounds like the maintenance barn might come a little later on. But right now it sounds like he's just trying to help the business remain in compliance with Department of Marine Resource regulations, trying to get those oysters as cold as possible as soon as possible. So it sounds like this barn will just help them keep doing the good work that they're doing.
Nice. That's great. Was it a you were at the meeting. Was there any comments from the public?
Not really. It was just kind of cut and dry. You know, nice. He needs a little more information for his application, but there's going to be a site walk on January 25th. And then it sounds like things will just keep going until he gets it done.
Yeah, I feel like anything to reduce the growth of pathogens sounds like good news to me.
If we can avoid bacteria in the oysters, that's good news.
Yes. And then lots of Edgecombe news this week because the select board got a new CEO, code enforcement officer.
Yes, I went to the select board meeting on January 7th, and they appointed a sort of familiar face to some people, Marian Anderson. She actually used to be town manager of Wiscasset in 2015. She had retired in September 2023, but she said she was finding retirement to be rather boring and saw the opportunity to be the code enforcement officer in Edgecombe. So she applied. They liked her. It sounds like they have worked with her in the past. So, there's some good history there. And
that's great for her.
Sounds like she's excited to get some activity again.
Well, I'm happy for her that I am always surprised, but I've heard recently several people say that they didn't want to stay retired.
I know, right?
There's a new sheriff's deputy also coming out of retirement. So that's a huge step, I guess, when you decide that you actually aren't done. So good for her.
Yeah.
It's great to have her back. And we had Piper, you were just all over the front page because Piper.
I didn't mean to. I'm sorry. But I did have the character this week. Nancy Diedrich. She is born and raised Newcastle. She's lived here almost all her life. I actually met her because my mom bought the house next door to her.
And doesn't she invite you to walk in whenever you want?
I'm fully allowed to just walk into Nancy's house whenever I'd like to.
Perfect.
And she always brings over cookies, which is something she's very well known for. The last 4 decades or so, she's been going around local businesses and giving them some of her baked goods, cookies, cakes, donuts, whoopie pies. It started when her husband worked at Bath Iron Works. And then it just kind of went from there, and dozens and dozens of businesses. So
that's amazing.
Lots of people know her, appreciate her baking.
And she has a connection to our office as well.
She does. Cindy Rice, who recently retired from our reception office, is her cousin. And Rova, who works at the front desk, is a good friend of hers.
Aww.
They've raised their kids together and everything.
Wow.
So when Nancy got the front page, I ran over to Rova. I was like, look at this. So very exciting.
Yeah, I'm
Nancy's
glad to see her there.
Lovely person.
Definitely. We also had a story on our sports section from Mick LaBelle, our sports writer, about Lincoln Academy graduate, Bree Wager, who's coaching basketball, D1 basketball at West Point, which is huge for her.
Yeah.
And she's been wanting to be a coach since she was 6 years old. So it seems like a long-held dream.
Yeah.
Well, there's the Pause for the Cause game at Madomic Valley, which is a cancer fundraiser. And we are staunchly against cancer here.
Yes, we are.
I don't know if that's official or if I'm just making that
I
up.
feel like it
Company
should
policy?
be official.
It seems like it should be a policy.
Should we just declare that right now?
Yeah.
I think so. I think John would be okay with that.
Yes. That is happening on January 20th at Madomic Valley High School. MVHS versus the Belfast Lions. Lucas, do you have a favorite?
Those games will not be close. Madomic will win both of those games by quite a lot.
Oh,
and
come on.
Yeah, they will. But that's always a great event, and it'll be packed. And yeah, it'll be standing room only for those games. And they raise a lot of money for cancer research.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, sounds like they want people to wear pink to, quote, pink out the gym.
The coaches will wear pink ties.
Oh, I love
and stuff
that.
like that, and socks, and they wear special pink uniforms.
Wow.
It's a whole thing.
Amazing.
That's great. It
Yeah.
looks like in 7 events so far, they've raised $49,000 for Maine breast cancer charities. So let's
again,
keep it going.
that's January 20th. Girls are going to play at 4:40 p.m., boys at 6 p.m. So be there or be square.
I feel like we do have an allegiance to Madomic Valley High School.
Yeah,
so
we probably
excited to
do.
see him play.
Yeah, those games will not be close, but it'll be very fun.
Awesome.
And so, Molly, next up, it sounds like we're going to hear from Julie Keizer.
Yes, the Waldoboro town manager will be joining us in a little bit to talk about a new health medical arts facility is what they're calling it. And it's going to bring 2 primary care practices into one space on Depot Street in Waldoboro. So let's hear from Julie Keizer. So we have Waldoboro Town Manager Julie Keizer joining us today. Hi, Julie.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here. We had a big day on Monday with some
We had
golden
a huge
shovels.
day with some golden shovels and hard hats.
Yes. And so how long, first of all, have you been town manager in Waldoboro?
I became town manager May 1st of 2017.
Wow. That's A good run so
It's
far.
been a good run.
And how long has this particular project, we're talking about the new MaineHealth building on Depot Street, been in the works?
I would say since the end of 2018.
Wow. So almost your whole time in
Almost
office.
my whole time.
Yeah.
Almost my whole time. But it was a wonderful, how it came about was we had a community forum, and the CLC YMCA and MaineHealth were a part of that. And we started having this conversation, Cindy, myself, and it just clicked. This made so much sense. And I was just struck by the fact that if you know Waldoboro, and everybody should know Waldoboro, it is a diverse, socioeconomically diverse community. And there is so much community spirit in it. Mm-hmm. And what we needed was a place for, I think, everyone. And what a better way to get everyone together than through healthcare and wellness. Mm-hmm. So I think it was just a natural conversation when you're talking about healthcare and how to provide best for residents and in their case, patients. It just naturally flowed into, a medical arts center. I wonder if we could have them be part of our community center. So it organically came to be mm-hmm. a partnership. And I like to think that it was through just conversation and collaboration and just working with partners and not being afraid to work with partners.
Yeah.
Government sometimes has this, we can't get out of our own way and we stay in our box. Honestly, mm-hmm. it can happen. Mm-hmm. And I just think that we managed to get out of that box and say, what would a private community partnership look like?
Definitely. And I wanted to talk to you about the funding that's going in, the congressionally directed spending, because I feel like that's a major symbol for that partnership.
It is a huge symbol. Senator King and Scott Wilkinson from his office, amazing. I love Scott. Can't say enough about him. He's a new dad, so if he's listening, congratulations. But that project, that they funded it to be a joint project. And what we've used it for is all the infrastructure. So now that the ground is broken, and you will see all of the amazing infrastructure that is underground go in, and the parking lot. That's what that $1 million earmark or congressionally directed spending is going to be utilized for. Yeah. And that would support a future community center on that same site that MaineHealth has generously allocated for us that space.
Yeah, so Max Johnstone, the town planner, he said that was water, electricity maybe,
yes,
and the parking lot.
And the parking lot and drainage.
Yes.
And I have to give a shout out to him too, because Max is just amazing too. And
can you say your nickname for him?
Maximilian worth a billion.
Yes.
He used to be worth $1 million and then he got $1 million. So now he has to be Maximilian worth $1 billion. But he is one of my best hires I've ever had in my career. And I hired him about a month after I had gotten to Waldoboro.
Wow.
And he was fresh out of college and just full of so much excitement to be in Waldoboro. And I think that's part of what makes our team work, is that everybody is excited to be in Waldoboro and work in Waldoboro because we know we're working towards something great.
Definitely. Yeah. And I think that enthusiasm is really obvious when you're in the town office and when you're just downtown. And that kind of relates to the need for a community center, which I know is still kind of nebulous what it could possibly look like. But I was wondering if you could speak to the lack of that kind of space at present and why you think it could be a good addition maybe.
So the original concept for the community center when it came up, and this has been a hot topic in Waldoboro on and off for the last 25 years, to be honest with you. It was going to have a gymnasium. It was going to be very centered around sports. And what we realized during COVID was it's not just about sports, that we needed other spaces, spaces for meetings, spaces for doing sports, if it's chair yoga or it's where the summer program might be run. But I think everybody has a different idea of what that should look like. So I think as times have changed, we have to gauge that change for Waldoboro and see what it is that the public wants and what are they willing to pay for. Because there has been, and it's not just Waldoboro, but it's all over the state of Maine. Budgets have gone up and people are finding it hard to find housing, as many of you know. And also, one of the things that sometimes I fear gets overlooked is stay in their housing. So that's going to be part of all of those conversations. But I think bringing the community together in a way that is, we can have a constructive conversation. And I'm sure there'll be proponents of more of a sports-centered theme, and there'll be components of a more social service type theme. But I don't think they're mutually exclusive. I think it's something that can be thoughtfully done together.
Definitely. So with the groundbreaking, the medical arts facility is going up. There's been a site plan. We know what it will look like. That's happening. But I think what you're saying is that the actual shape that the community center takes is very much to be determined.
And what is in it will very much have to be determined.
So how do you think that will happen?
So I think, definitely what we're going to do is we're going to have some forums about it. We'll probably do a, much like we've done with the Sylvania site, we'll do some type of a poll to see what people really think, a survey. I'm a little sad that a lot of our surveys aren't answered. And it's part of that is people don't have time. And we noticed when we did the survey for the Sylvania property, when we went to back to school night, we had found the way into, we had to meet people at where they were.
Totally, yeah.
Back to school night, they're there. We used a QR code. They could do it on their phone. We haven't had as big of a response from any of our other gatherings.
Wow.
Even on election day, we handed out over 800 flyers about that. And I got 20 responses back.
Wow. Huh.
So what I'd really like to see is what we had initially at back to school night, where we had almost 85 responses.
Yeah.
So I just think we need to meet people where they're at and not depend on them seeing it on Facebook and saying, oh, I think this will be fun.
Yeah, totally. Because I think it can feel, for people who maybe don't realize what's going on, suddenly they're like, oh, why was I not consulted? So finding where those people are and making sure they know, it's really important.
That has been the greatest challenge, is to, how do we get information out? I have this conversation with the staff and with the select board a lot. We have a presence on Facebook. We record our meetings, so they're there. You can be a part of our live stream meetings. We obviously have the Lincoln County News. How do you reach people? And I honestly think it comes down to, and it was a great thing, you have to meet them where they're at. So we have to figure that out and do a better job of that. As good of a job as you think you're doing, you can always do better.
That's exciting to think about, and I'm excited to hear what people think. I wonder, because we have Lucas here and he grew up in Waldoboro.
Yeah.
Were you aware of the community center discussion when you were younger?
No, I was not aware of it. But there's always talk of building things. And there was always talk of, I would always hear, oh, we're going to build a gym for basketball games. And then the church built one. So there's that. But to go on, you're talking about meeting people where they are. I mean, I've found in trying to market things that you think you're talking to your blue in the face, and then you'll run into someone who has no idea and hasn't heard anything. And the story I always tell, when my first film was at Flagship, we promoted it for like a month, and I thought everyone was sick of listening to me. The first night it's there, this guy walks in who, when like I would watch football games at his house, went to high school with him, and I was like, hey, you're here to see my movie. And he goes, what movie? And like, this is a guy who I've known for like 20 years. And it just goes to show that people aren't listening as much as you think you're talking.
Exactly. And that's one of the problems, is sometimes we think we say the same thing over and over and people are tired of hearing it. But I just think we need to be more mindful about meeting people in their place.
Totally. It sounds like you have a pretty wide range of options for what could go there.
We do.
Yeah.
We do. And we have needs. And I think, one of the things, we just handed out over 112 boxes of joy for Christmas for kids in Waldoboro. And they were needs. They were warm coat, boots, mittens, gloves, hat, only 2 toys, a game, a book, a warm set of clothing, underwear, and socks. And 112 kids got boxes of joy. We also then handed out over 169 food baskets for Christmas.
Wow.
To families in Waldoboro. So, there's a lot, and what we're seeing now is LIHEAP, what supplements a lot of people's heating needs through the winter, is behind. So we don't have a warming center right now in Waldoboro. If there is an emergency, we were using the town office conference room. There's not a lot of privacy and it's not a lot of room. So it would be great if we had a space where we could, if a warming center, if the electric's out for 10 days and you need some place to get warm, that you would have a place to come. It would be great to be able to provide some type of a meal in this space. So to me, I think people have to weigh, is having something like that in an emergency with a generator important. A basketball court. I've heard a lot. We have a lot of basketball courts in Waldoboro. We have the schools and we have 2 churches that have that. So I think sometimes we have to, again, get out of our box and think, how do we share those things better, or how do we do something better? And it might take a little bit more work, but it's worth the discussion, because I do think there is going to be need in the future. We were lucky in Waldoboro that the bad storm that just celebrated its year anniversary, we were relatively unscathed. But there were a lot of towns and communities that had no electric for an extended period of time. And so we have to think about all of those things. And those are all the kinds of things that will hopefully go into what that building is.
Definitely. And just logistically, I've been wondering, because it is a partnership with MaineHealth and they're on that site now, is the agreement with Waldoboro to have that space, is there like an actual agreement, or is it an understanding?
So we have a letter of intent. And as we develop our plans, of course, it'll be a mutual, and we would like whatever building eventually exists, we want to keep it in keeping with what they've designed. And it should be, as when we envisioned this, was as much shared space as possible. So the parking lots, but who knows, in the future, they might need something that we can offer, even if it's just a meeting space, or they might have something they can offer us. And I just think we have to start really thinking about what is the stuff we can share with partners, because that's better for the taxpayer in the end if we're all sharing things. And we've got to get out of this realm of it has to be ours or we have to control it. It has to be about how can we do this as a partnership and it be mutually beneficial, not only to whatever partner we have, but also to the town and to its residents and taxpayers.
Definitely. That kind of comes back to something you said when I saw you at the reception, which is that when you look back over your career, this will be one of the big moments.
I will tell you it is. I've been doing this for a very long time, since I always like to say since dinosaurs roamed the earth. But I'm starting my 39th year in local government.
Wow.
Wow.
And I started when I was 16, and it is a calling, and public service is a wonderful thing. And I've always enjoyed working in the towns I worked in. And when I left New Jersey in 2017, I worked twice for the same town, and I loved that town. And I kept saying, I'll never find this again. And then I came to Waldoboro, Maine, and it has absolutely been the most rewarding place to work, because I think there was this perception they couldn't keep a town manager. And here we are almost 8 years later, and I'm still here, and I want to continue to be there till I retire, because it is such a special place, and it did need some attention. And I feel that the MaineHealth project creates such a nice new place that will offer more than what the current spaces can, and provides an added level of service to our community. And they deserve that. Mm-hmm. They truly deserve that. When I go to the hospital over at Miles, you can look out, and I'll send pictures to all my friends and say, this is the view from the waiting room.
Yeah.
And, that our new building is right on the Madomic River. Mm-hmm. And that'll be a beautiful view, and it'll be a beautiful building, and a place that's welcoming. And that was the other thing I made a point of saying the other day, is that you don't often get in a government career where you truly think that something you were involved in made a change for the better, or you can't really put your finger on it or define it. I can define this one as a top 5 in my career. Mm-hmm. I like to keep lists. Like I said, Max is one of the best hires I've ever made. I've made some of my best hires in Waldoboro. Mm-hmm. And those individuals that I've hired have come and made significant change, and I enjoy that. And I get a little heat every now and then. Millennials. I raised 3 of them. And I went to a conference recently, and it was talking about the millennials. And I look at my staff and my hires, and a majority of them, since I've been there, are millennials. Mm-hmm. And I have to tell you, this perception is wrong about millennials.
Thank you for saying that.
They're amazing. I mean, I look at who I've hired, and we have such a great team, and people who genuinely care and have these amazing ideas that are put into place and have just made it an even better town than before they started. And I get excited about what the future holds, because it takes a diverse group to move anything forward. I don't want to have people around me who just think like I do. I want to have people who think outside the box and have different opinions, because you can't just stay in your own little space.
Yeah. There's lots of different opinions in Waldoboro.
There are, and they're all valuable.
Totally.
They really are all valuable, and you have to be open to listen to them, because you have to be able to hear everyone. And I always like to say this, because I never know who's going to walk into the office. I could have it could be one of my clam diggers, and it could be a former CEO of a multi-million-dollar company. Mm-hmm. And they all have to feel comfortable and feel like when they come in, they're being heard. Mm-hmm. And I like to think that that's what all of us do.
Definitely. So I did want to make sure people know if they have comments on this.
Comments, questions, call us up, come in and see me. I personally love when a resident actually takes the time to come in and sit down in my office and ask me questions, whether they're good or bad or indifferent.
Yeah.
Sometimes I really enjoy people who may not agree. And sometimes, like I said, there may be stuff I don't know that they offer that is invaluable information, and it shapes how we move forward. And I think the select board feels that way. We get really excited, and you know this, when new people come to meetings.
Yeah.
We're all like, oh, we have people.
Yeah, if you want to feel special, go to a select board
If you
meeting.
want to feel special in Waldoboro, come to a select board meeting. You will be welcomed with open arms. Sometimes we sing for you. It depends, what kind of mood we're in.
Totally. Well, I hope that people do come in and get involved in this process and tell your friends, because...
Yes, tell your friends, tell your neighbors. Yeah. Call us up. Like I said, we're always there, Monday through Thursday. Come on in. Our late night is Tuesday. We're there from 8 in the morning till 6 at night. And it can be happy stuff. It can be stuff you're upset about. But be involved.
Yeah.
I've walked into your office and it's not scary at all.
No, it's not.
It's a very accommodating place.
We try it. We try to make it a very accommodating place. And we, like I said, if anybody came in during Christmas, they saw our Winter Wonderland and our gingerbread house. So
I came in. It was hard to fit. There was so much toys and
there was a lot of
coats.
toys and coats and food and gingerbread houses. But next year is we're going to do the North Pole as our theme. So start thinking.
Yeah, get ahead of the game.
Get ahead of the game.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much,
Julie.
for coming
Thank
in to
you.
talk.
This is wonderful. I really like this.
Yeah, it's fun. It's always fun to have a guest, and also just to hear directly from you about this story is really meaningful.
Oh, yeah.
So.
Yeah. But I was a little intimate. I've never done a podcast.
Oh, boy.
So this was a lot of fun. And I hate to say this, but I watch them on YouTube. My daughter laughs at me. She's like, well, Mom, you're kind of like just, she listens to them in the car and everything. My millennial daughter, I love her. And she's trying to make me more cool. But, but this is truly one that's not, it's a true podcast.
Yeah.
So I like it.
Well, the watching it, sometimes you want to see what the person looks like with the voice.
You do.
Yeah.
Sometimes you do. I have to admit, I'm into the whole New Heights, Kelsey brothers. I like football.
Yeah.
So I listen to them. And but it's just interesting, like what you start to listen to. And there's all these interesting crime
I know. Those are my
podcasts.
favorite. Yeah.
It's amazing.
Charlene in the office is huge into those.
Yeah, and then if you startle her, you walk into the office of the Lincoln County News, she's like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. She'll think she's about to be in a crime podcast.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, there's a lot of, this is a new podcast, and there's a lot of ways we could go with it. So I think in the same way, we're looking for feedback too, and for people to tell
I
us
love
what they
it.
want.
And I it's great that you have Lucas.
Well, I'm here.
Yeah, star-studded production
I just
cast.
have to say, too, I'm going to just give Lincoln County News a plug. I love the fact that I can pick up a paper and get news and good stories. I love that it's a hometown paper, and that I just love that. We didn't have that from where I came. It got very commercialized, and I just love the fact that I can still find yard sales in the newspaper.
Yeah. Totally.
But I also find out what's going on in the communities, not only in Waldoboro, but the community in which I live and the communities surrounding us. And that is rare in today's world, and I'm truly blessed. And I love it even more that the publisher showed up and put out a fire today at my neighbor's house in a shed. But
did block you from coming here.
It did block me from coming here on time, but that's okay. But I love that hometown feel.
Yeah.
It's a good thing.
Thank you for saying that. It's always, I think we also feel grateful to be here.
Yeah.
It's a unique environment, and we don't take it lightly.
I feel bad though, because I have to go to an appointment right now.
Well, goodbye.
I'll just say, Julie, as someone who is often called on to represent Waldoboro for some reason, since you got here, Waldoboro's on a little bit of a hot streak. You got the Waldo Theater came back, a couple other things, downtown, the village is improving, places like that. And so I don't want to say you should take all the credit for that, but you should take a little bit of the credit for that.
It's a team effort. It really is a team effort, and it's the people of Waldoboro, honestly, that make the difference. I just kind of guide it, but they are some of the most amazing people I've ever met in my life.
I will say also that it's much more accommodating than some other towns, because I've run organized road races in like 5 or 6 different towns in the Mid-Coast. And if you do Thomaston, you got to go to like this special meeting on like a Tuesday night, and they're like, "Where's the course?" You're like, "It's down the sidewalk, man. Like, it's not a big deal." And you're there for like 3 hours. And in Waldoboro, when I decided to do the half marathon, I just emailed the police chief and I was like, "Do you care if we do a half marathon?" He's like, "Nah, go for it."
Well, and I'll tell you too, what I love is, John Lash, Derek Booker, my police chief, and my EMS chief. They are fabulous, as all my emergency services are, but they're new hire. They were newly promoted from within. One's a Waldoboro resident, one's a Friendship resident. I think they get and they understand Waldoboro, and they genuinely have the love of Waldoboro in their hearts. And I think that helps.
Yeah.
I think it helps when you have somebody in those positions that grew up there. They know the town, they know the players, they know you. I mean, you come from a family that's very well known and respected too.
Infamous.
Could be infamous. And that matters, because I think it's very much a community. And when you have people in positions that know the community so well, it makes it easier to get things done, because they know what your intent is. You know what their intent is. And sometimes there's no need to make things more complicated than they really are.
Yeah, and it's a hard community. Waldoboro is very unique, I think, in the towns of, let's say, just mid-coast-ish Maine extended. It's very unique, and it's really hard to pin it down and describe. Like, you could say, if I told you Camden, you go, "Oh, Camden. Yeah, okay. We can describe Camden in 30 seconds easily, and you'd understand it 100%. Waldoboro, you're just like, it's, there's clam diggers and there's a bunch of other stuff, but you have to know it. You have to be in it.
You have to know it.
To know it.
And what I love about it is you can't really define it. And I think we like it that way, because I love the fact that we have the absolute best clams in the entire state of Maine.
And the highest production.
And I also love that we're known for our arts too, with the Waldo. And we have some incredible artists that call Waldoboro home.
So many.
Fiber arts. We have an incredible farming community. We have Morris's Sauerkraut.
Yeah.
We have Moody's Diner. I mean, we have all of these places that people travel to see. And it's just been, that's what I like about it, is you can't really define it, because I always say you have from the river up to North Waldoboro, where you have some of the most beautiful farmland you'd ever want to see. And like I said, I love this. I love the fact that I will never know who's walking into my office.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, there's just stuff about Waldoboro where it happens and you go, "No, that checks out. That's a Waldoboro
definitely
thing.
That's a Waldoboro thing.
That's not a Damerscott thing. That's not a Newcastle thing. That's a 100% a Waldoboro thing."
Definitely.
It's exciting to see the community evolve. I think the community center, like the hypothetical idea, is just a step in that, and it really fits in. And seeing people meet needs, because Waldoboro also has a really high level of need, and seeing people come up with the creative ways to meet that has been cool for me.
Oh, well, the Community Navigator program, that's another podcast we need to talk about.
What's the Community Navigator program?
Our Community Navigator, we started a Community Navigator program 3 years ago with the Y.
Okay.
And what it is it's a connector. So it started out, and Karen Ann Hager was our Community Navigator, and it gave a place for people to come, a central location in the town. And if you were having, and it didn't matter who you were, if you had questions about finding housing, food, any type of need you might have, even tax preparation, we will find the resource. We have resources that you probably don't know we even have, that you could be given. Here's how you get in touch with this person. And we had a lot of success with that. So much success in Waldoboro that Lincoln County took over the program, and now it's countywide.
Oh, cool.
Booth Bay also has their own community navigation, and they actually they started it before we did, but it made such a difference in people's lives. We literally, when I say this program saved lives, we had a woman who, because of Karen Ann's involvement with her through community navigation, requested a wellness check. And it was 2 years ago during a really cold snap. It literally saved her life from freezing to death. And we've also had really good results with some recovery, helping people get placed in recovery. And what I love about the community navigation program is you have to work. So the person requesting the resources has to also do some work. And if you can ever get Karen Ann Hager on here for community navigation, that would be a fabulous podcast because that is probably, if I was rating the accomplishments, that would be number one.
Yeah. Wow.
Community navigation, because it does change lives.
And it's that program, it's growing so fast and so much. I remember when I was a new reporter, one of the first stories I got to write was the county-wide partnership, bringing it from Waldoboro to the whole county. And I know now they're expanding and doing even more. And it's just like things are happening really quickly.
Right now, we get a lot of calls about fuel oil. It's been a cold snap. LIHEAP's behind. If you call today, you don't get an appointment until April. That community navigator is bridging that gap, finding other resources before people go cold. So it's just things that you don't even think about that I didn't think about it before I came to Waldoboro, and now
you don't think about it until it happens to you.
You don't think about it until it happens to you. Yeah. And that's the one thing I think that we've done a good job of, and whether it's through the children's program at Christmas or even the food basket, there are resources out there that people definitely need. And what we're seeing is it's not people who are out of work that are taking these resources. A lot of these are 2 wage earner families that are struggling. One of the boxes of joy that was handed out, there were 2 boxes to a family, and the mother sent me an email, and it literally made me cry, and it made me realize that this is needed. Was I wasn't sure I was going to put in for a box of joy. My husband and I both work. It's hard now. Our rent in July went up $400 a month.
Wow.
Just last week, I had to put 450 gallons of fuel oil, or $450 of fuel oil in our fuel oil tank. My kids wouldn't have had much of anything for Christmas if it wasn't for the boxes of joy. And she's like, I really struggled. Like, do I need this? Do I really, really need this? And yeah, she did. Otherwise, her kids wouldn't have had a Christmas, or they might not have had boots that fit them. So to me, it's not just a handout. It's something that truly helps people who just need a little bit of help. And they're working hard, and it only takes an emergency, a car repair, or a large fuel oil bill that takes you from meeting your monthly obligation to not meeting it, which could mean homelessness, or you're making choices of what you don't have.
Yeah.
And you're right, until it happens to you. I like to say to people all the time, when I was first married, we had a lot of ramen noodle nights.
Ramen noodle nights are awesome.
Ramen noodle nights are awesome. But it gets tiring after you have them a couple of nights in a row, because, you're young and you're starting your life out. Back when I started out, it was a lot different, though. And nowadays, I wasn't paying, $1,800 a month in rent.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, last year at our house, we had our hot water tank pump, whatever it is, went out on right after Christmas, and it's really cold. And, you're broke right after Christmas anyway. And if it wasn't for just the resources that I have of my family and my parents, and then just the fact that my cousin installs them for a living, and I was able to get him over there, who knows how long we would have been without hot water. And you can't plan for that.
And, we have people come in and they'll ask, they're like, they don't qualify for general assistance and they need help. And it's, how do I get help? We had somebody come in and needed a car repair because that was their way to get to work. Mm-hmm. And so you go through these things and you try to find the resources. And we were very fortunate that we were able to help with the car repair. But, one of the good things is you help people. And sometimes they come back and help others. And that's happened quite a bit to us in Waldoboro. And that, to me, is just so heartwarming when you see somebody who said, I never thought I'd need it. And then when they get back up on their feet, they're donating to our program and doing things to help others. And that, to me, paying it forward gets me every time.
Yeah. It's really encouraging to hear. And it's really fun to see the town taking those steps and empowering people to do that too.
Because you're a new Waldoborian too.
I am, and I love it. It's great.
I'm an honorary one now because I live in Damascata. But
You'll never be excommunicated.
You'll never be. You've got too many good
ties. It's the Tim Sample rule. You're born there, and you're just, you're there forever.
You're there forever. Mm-hmm. And you can always come back home.
Yeah.
Oh. Well, on that note, I could talk about Waldoboro forever. But
can I ask one question? Like, what's your pie in the sky Waldoboro dream accomplishment where you would, if you got it, you would do a George Costanza and just be like, that's it, I'm done?
I think if we could find a way for it to be affordable again.
That'd be tricky.
It's tricky. And
as in like life.
As in people could find a home and they could afford to be there.
Yeah.
Mid-Coast is becoming unaffordable. My son moved out to Arizona, came back to Maine. He sold his house in Maine, went out, didn't like it, wanted to come back, spent 5 long months living with mom and dad.
Oh, that's rough.
With a wife who was expecting and a 2-year-old and a 1-year-old.
Oh, my gosh.
It was really hard because they so wanted to be close to the family unit because we have 2 other kids that one lives in Newcastle, one lives in Waldoboro.
And that's so helpful at that when you have kids that age.
And it's very helpful when you have kids that age. And they could not afford to find a house. And I'm talking like a $450,000 range house for their needs in the Mid-Coast, from I would say Brunswick up to Waldoboro.
Yeah.
And they had to go closer to Augusta.
Was this pre or post COVID?
Post COVID.
Okay, so everything like doubled after COVID.
Everything doubled over COVID. So I'd love to see us be able to have affordable housing. I'm not necessarily talking about building it, but I'd love to see housing become affordable again in Waldoboro and taxes be sustainable and level, because that's going to be another issue. And I think the town and the county and the schools have to figure out a way to work together so that we can grow, but grow responsibly fiscally and try to keep it all moving forward so that it's not a big surprise and we level out that tax burden. So I think if I could do that, that would be the Costanza moment. Second to that would be just seeing it flourish. I want some of the people who, have been critical of, the speed of progress or, this. I like it when somebody comes and says, I didn't think you guys could do that, but you did. I love that, I got that the other day with the medical arts building was, hey, you actually did that. I actually didn't think it was going to ever happen. And I'm like, it did.
Yeah.
So, but I think that would make my Costanza moment.
I feel like just being downtown and seeing all the parking spots taken and people going in and out of places downtown, for me, it feels like a step towards flourishing.
It does. And I love all the businesses that are you can go to the Waldoboro Inn now, and they are always advertising that they're doing something.
Yeah.
You have the Waldo, and there's little things popping up here and there, and I don't know, even on Route 1, we have an amazing Jamaican eatery now.
Oh yeah,
It's
that's
amazing.
fantastic.
J&J's is amazing.
It's amazing, so there's just so many, and we have our stalwarts, we have Moody's, we have Shelley's, I'm sad we're losing Tucker.
Yeah, right. They're
We
going.
tried so hard. Max, I give Max $1 million worth $1 billion. He tried to find property and things, but
Kind of a tough property to come across.
I'm sad because that was such a historic. Ralph's Chevrolet was a historic place there in Waldoboro. I remember that when I was little, and we'd drive through Waldoboro, and my dad always liked to look over at the new Chevys and say, "Ooh." When we would be on vacation. It's the only time my father ever looked at a car was when he was on vacation. When we were home, never look at a new car. On vacation, definitely. I think it was dreaming.
Yeah, that's what vacation's for, looking at Chevys.
Looking at Chevys and waterfront property was always this thing.
Oh, well, it'll be really great to see what happens from Depot Street to downtown, really.
Oh, it will. It will, and we just have to manage the traffic and manage all of that, and we'll be fine. The speeding is a huge issue.
Speeding's a huge issue now?
Speeding is a huge issue everywhere, but we'll manage it. We can get there.
One dynamic speed sign at a time.
Yeah, one speed table at a time.
Is that intersection in the village better? Did they change something? I can't remember what exactly. Is it helping?
So we received a grant, a village initiative, to partner with the state to fix that. I think people say that the speed from the speed signs, the interactive speed signs, has slowed people down to some extent. But once they get past them, they forget. So the village partnership grant, we're going to have some improvements done with speed tables that will hopefully slow people down. We did get the parking lot behind the pharmacy. So I think that's another project that's starting that will allow people to park and come downtown and feel comfortable. We're talking, we're going to have a forum about that, another downtown forum about what those plans might look like shortly. Max is working on that. So yeah, I think, that's all part of what would look great. You can't, it has to grow. Downtown has to grow. We have to have, again, and that helps with offset some of the burden on the taxpayers. So it's all hand in hand, but we'll get there. I'll have a Costanza moment. Don't worry.
I can't wait. Thank you so much, Julie.
Thank you. It's been great.
Thank you for listening to Beyond the Broadsheet, a podcast by the Lincoln County News. Production support is provided by Tyler Davis of Tyality Productions. Theme music by Stu Mahan and Sherwood Olin.
Have a question or a suggestion? Email us at info@lcnme.com. And if you haven't already, please be sure to rate and subscribe to this podcast wherever you listen.
This has been a Lincoln County Publishing Company production.